Hey there, colleague. How in the world are you doing? One of the most powerful states that you can bring to a lesson is the state of calmness. And if you're able to maintain that state for the duration of a lesson, you will have effects on the overall calmness of the class. It's not magic. It doesn't control the students in the room. There's no brainwashing here. But I promise you that calmness is a strength, a muscle. Think of it as a spiritual muscle that, just like a physical muscle, can be worked out, honed, built, and grown over time. And that this muscle is incredibly useful to the flourishing teaching life and the impactful teaching practice. So in this video, 4 tips on how the heck do you grow in your calmness abilities as an educator. How do you be more calm? All right, I brainstormed these tips today between classes and I'm gonna share them with you. Number 1, rest. A lot of teachers are pretty amateur at rest. We don't know how to turn it off, and there can even be a valorization of this I never turn it offness that is completely misguided. If I'm going to a doctor, I don't want to hear from the doctor, yeah, I just really don't sleep well, I don't rest at all on weekends, and I'm burning out. That's not what I want to hear. That's not what a professional should be bringing to me as someone who's seeking their services. And I think you and I, we're a lot like doctors, meaning that we're professionals. So don't minimize the importance of getting good at rest. And also don't underestimate the fact that rest is a skill like any other. You need to practice at rest. You need to plan for rest. You need to experiment with rest and the different types of activities that fill you up and give you a sense of rejuvenation. And you really can't do that if you don't intend to do that. So if you don't have designated times in which you allow yourself to work on teaching and designated times in which you don't allow yourself to teaching, that's step 1. You have to have safe space from teaching. No matter how busy, hectic, and crazy this gets, there has to be protected time. Because if there's not, you will inevitably let this expand into this, and then this will just get worse because you can only handle so much pressure before your performance declines. With a work schedule in place, you can now make a list of things that you know to be rejuvenating to your soul. What types of physical activities do you emerge from calmer? Do you emerge from stabilized? Do you emerge from with clarity? Might be taking a run, taking a walk, taking a nap, reading a book, taking a bath, sketching a picture, completing a journal entry. What are the types of things that fill you up, that rejuvenate you? Now that you have that brainstormed list, I want you to try to get at least one of those items into at least a couple of your protected workspaces this week. And treat this like any other skill you're trying to get better at. Be aggressive with it. Get reps in. And don't be a perfectionist about this. It's more about the repetitions, the quantity of restful experiences that you have versus the quality. So if you like taking long walks, for example, settle for 5-minute walks. If you like journaling pages and pages to process your life, settle for paragraphs. As you get better and better at rest, you will find it easier and easier to bring calmness to your instructional situation, and that'll benefit both you and your students. Number 2, simplify the things that you do. I once talked to an amazing educator, super well regarded in their community, outstanding impacts with kids, but they were telling me one day about the amount of time that they spend creating their slides. Yeah, the things at the front of the class. And for every single lesson that this teacher taught, for every single prep, they would have like 10 or 20 different slides, each of them handcrafted. We're talking about comparing fonts and things, being real thoughtful about color. Now, if you enjoy designing slides, that's cool, that's great. But if you're putting this pressure on yourself to create this many unique slides for every single day, that's an example of a thing that you could simplify without seeing a huge reduction in student achievement or student engagement. Another place I see teachers overcomplicating their work is by really relying on the copy machine. Colleague, have you ever found a copy machine to be truly reliable? No. You want to work to make it so that you are not as reliable on the copy machine. This is why all of my students are required to have a spiral notebook. As the years have gone on, I lean on this more and more and more and more. We can make a worksheet. We can make a T-chart. We can make a vocabulary list. We can make a visual map of concepts. We can brainstorm in here. We can do all the things that I used to print stuff out to facilitate. But the nice thing is, I don't need to depend on that doggone infernal machine. And dude, seriously, when is the last time that you walk to the copier, you really need a copy, and you see a line, and then you walk away saying, I feel really calm and collected right now? No, it's frustrating. You don't want that. So minimize your reliance on the copy machine. These are 2 examples of simplification. And by the by, there's like a bajillion more examples in my book, These 6 Things, and in my book, The Will to Learn. These books are all about simplification. Idea number 3, empower yourself with classroom management. I don't care how long you've been teaching, classroom management management is one of those skill areas that periodically needs a refresh. So you need to do things like watch other teachers teach, see if you can pull any classroom management refresh ideas from the other teachers in your building. Read blogs. I love Michael Linson's Smart Classroom Management blog. I always walk away from there with some new ideas or new ways of thinking about things. And colleague, again, I don't care how long you've been teaching, it is not a bad thing. It's not a credibility destroying thing to just do a reboot with a class that you're having a hard time with. If there's a bunch of misbehaviors in a class that you're working with, set aside an hour to come up with a new plan. You can use Michael Linson's blog to help you and introduce that plan to your students and work on that. Give yourself permission to work on classroom management again, and don't view it as like a shame thing. There's so much shame amongst teachers about classroom management, it's especially experienced teachers, and I just don't think that there's any need to be that way. This is an incredibly complex part of our work. You're talking about group psychology, dynamics that have like infinity variables. It is normal to have to revisit and refresh this area of your work. So do that and view it as you empowering yourself to provide a better, more enjoyable, more productive learning experience for your students and you. The last way to get better at calmness, practice it. When your children at home are doing something that annoys you, just practice taking a deep breath. Practice observing the situation before reacting. When your dog pees on the carpet, practice thinking about the situation. Practice speaking to your dog calmly. Human beings are wild. What we focus on tends to be what we become. And so if you can just get more mindful, sorry to use a buzzy buzzword, about this state of calmness that you're seeking, you will over time become more adept in that area. Have you got any other ideas? I'm not Mr. Call Me Calm. I could always use some tips. Put them in the comments. Until then, cheers.